So the Fire King structure deck is coming out next week for us in the TCG, and there's already a lot to say about it. It's winning and topping left and right in the OCG for a bunch of reasons, which I will all cover in this video. But before we go any further, I would really appreciate it if you could smash the like and subscribe button for me real quick. Thank you so much, you're the GOAT, and now let's get right into it. Alright, so first things first, what is the set spoiler for the Fire King structure deck? Well, I'd definitely say that Konami spoiled us with this one because there's a lot of really cool cards that can be found in there. Every Fire King card that you need for the deck is in here, and you also have some nice staples like Drill and Logbird, Infinite Impermanence, Solemn Judgment, etc. With that said, you're not even remotely close to being able to build a really good tier 1 deck just off of 3 structure decks. There's a bunch of reasons for that, and the first one is that you still need to get your hands on the Diabellstar engine. It costs a lot of money, and that's the reason why the structure deck kinda gives off Salamangreat vibes, because you think it's cheap because the structure deck is cheap, but the meta deck itself is still really expensive because you need very expensive staples to make it work. Because you're also going to be needing Espilo Knight and some other cards like that in your extra deck. If anything, I'd say that this deck is probably going to be costing you pretty much the exact same as Rescue Ace. As a matter of fact, Fire King is basically just another Rescue Ace deck, but with Fire King cards instead of Rescue Ace cards. Okay, jokes aside though, is this deck on the same level as Rescue Ace? Absolutely not. Or at least should I say not right now. So Fire King has been doing very well in the OCG, that is true, but at the same time the context is entirely different over there. So for starters, Fire Kings do not lose to Maxi at all because they can afford to special summon on the opponent's turn, so it's kind of like a mid-range deck and not a combo deck. Second, in the OCG, they already have the privilege of playing with Promethean Princess, which is the stupid Link 3 monster, as well as Snake Eye Populace. Yeah, these two cards are completely cracked for fire-based strategies, I can tell you that. The Snake Eye Populace is particularly good because it allows you to use the Snake Eye engine on top of the Diabellstar engine, which really adds a lot of consistency to your deck. Not just that, but it also adds a lot of power because at the moment, there's no true one-card combo in the Fire King deck, but with Ash, you're going to be able to make 5 interruptions. And again, when I say Ash, I'm talking about Snake Eye Ash. This card's name should have stayed Snake Eye XL, seriously. But yeah, I'm really not joking when I say that the Fire King deck without the Snake Eye engine has one of the lowest ceilings you will ever see in your entire life. So not to break anyone's hearts or anything, but I was actually playtesting games where I would draw extremely above average Fire King hands against like extremely average Unchained hands, and the Fire King deck would lose literally every single time. Because sure, the new Fire King cards are cool and all, but at the same time you still have to play with the old Fire King cards, which are very rusty. They all have the drawbacks of modern cards, which means pretty much all of them are hard once per turn, while also not being as broken as some of the modern cards that we have right now. Honestly, the Fire King deck at the moment looks like it just lacks options, even though it's really consistent. The funny thing is, it's really not like you can say that the issue of the Fire King deck is losing to hand traps, because as long as you have Garunix in rotation, you're fine. So obviously, sure, if you get ashed on the Fire King Island, it hurts, but at the same time, you could use Arvata to negate the ash in case you have it. But the issue is, just because you went first and you had access to that doesn't necessarily mean you won. Again, you're not making an unbreakable board and you're not spamming the board whatsoever. This is a mid-range deck at the moment, so it's very slow and takes way too long to set up. It's not like Unchained, which is technically a mid-range deck, but with the power level of a combo deck in certain regards. Oh, and also, with the Fire King deck, you're always using monster effects on your opponent's standby phase because of the Barong and the Ponix, which means that whether you like it or not, it will always turn on your opponent's triple tactic thrust. That is very, very bad, and that could mess you up like crazy. And if you are unable to end on Hanuman, you basically have no way of interacting with spells and traps. Now, the gimmick of the Fire King is cool, it's about destroying your own cards, but I want to say it actually does that way worse than Unchained. When the Unchained cards die, they all do the same thing. On the other hand, when the Fire King cards die, they all do something completely different. For example, when Ponix and Barong gets destroyed, they will trigger their effects on the next standby phase. So Ponix will recycle itself back to the hand, and Barong will search you a Fire King card from your deck to your hand. When Hanuman and Garunix die, they do nothing. However, they do trigger when something else dies, which is really relevant. So we're only left with Kirin and Arvata, which are kinda similar to Unchained cards because they do trigger their effects immediately, but in a worse way. I mean, Arvata revives back a Fire King monster from her graveyard, but negates its effect and destroys it on the end phase. And Kirin either summons back an Unchained monster from the hand or graveyard and then allows you to destroy a card on the field without targeting, which is really nice. But yeah, out of these 6 Fire King monsters that you're going to be playing, only 2 of them can trigger their effects right away when they were destroyed. That is just not enough, unfortunately. And because of that, you will very often just not have enough gas to push through a board going second. Like, sure, you're using a bunch of effects, but some of them are either doing nothing, or some of them have to wait until the next turn to do something. Again, in a format where Max C is around, in the OCG, this is completely fine, but in the TCG, people are just way more aggressive, so you're just gonna die. There is no such thing as next turn. You either do everything now or never. But then again, just to make myself completely clear, the new support that we're going to be getting in Phantom Nightmare will completely fix the issue of Fire King just being too slow right now. The Snake Eye engine will allow you to have some one-card combos that make 5 interruptions, which is crazy because, again, right now there's pretty much nothing that just pops off. And the Link Monster obviously gives you crazy recursion. But yeah, all this to say that the Fire King structure deck won't really be worth playing competitively on the release. That's not to say that it's a weak structure deck or useless product, because it is still really worth investing in right now. As a matter of fact, I would even say that if you have any intentions of playing this deck eventually, just go buy 3 copies of the structure deck right now. It's obviously going to go up in value once we get Phantom Nightmare because the deck is going to be getting much better. And even though the deck is not really good right now, you can still play it out and, get some practice in, so when the deck becomes good, you're going to be better than everyone else. But to be completely honest with you, even with the new support, if there is no ban list, Unchained and Rescue Ace are still miles ahead of Fire King. Again, there is no Max C in the TCG, so things are completely different over here. With that said, if Konami really wants to push these sales on Fire King, they could easily just destroy Unchained and Rescue Ace, and that would make the deck much better. We never know, but we can always hope. Anyways, that's all I had for this video, so guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.